And friends, welcome to From Misfit to Mystic. This is your host, Lisa LaJoie. I'm very excited that you're here today. It is going to be a cool show. I am sitting in my office where my little radio setup is, and I was thinking a lot about what subject we're going to talk about right now. And let me tell you something. It's been quite the week, or 2 or 3, let's say. Really crazy energy going on, honestly. It's absolutely been insane. And I tell you, I've been through the ringer a little bit. I know so many people who are being influenced and impacted by the energy circuits that are going on and the opportunities and the shifts that are coming through the energy in the planets, and, just such a variety of things coming forward and teaching us. There's a lot of influences that bring up old paradigms and old ways, outdated, outmoded, limiting beliefs that are coming up for so many people. And it's really important that we learn to move through them, move past them, own them, claim them, and move forward so that we have a full-on change in who we are. It is happening. This is an unleashing of cosmic proportions right now. I'm telling you. Really crazy times. And some of you love astrology. I know that. I have a lot of amazing people who listen to this podcast. And, listen, I am a firm believer in understanding energy dynamics and what's going on and how things are flowing and the opportunities we have to grow as individuals. There is cosmic alignment, which means the planets that push us, that are out there, that are smashing into each other energetically, and meaning, that are doing some oppositions. And, things line up in the sky which actually influence us. I mean, we're all from the same galaxy. It's just like our limiting beliefs affect all of who we are, affect our minds, bodies, and spirits, and the influences of our experience create a momentum inside of who we are. Just the momentum of either positive or negative. Things propel us from the inside. It's the same thing like the solar system. The solar system is talking to each other and everything is connected. And so we're influenced as earthly beings based on what's happening out in the sky. Well, we are exactly the same as individuals. Without, if the body's influenced, the mind is influenced. If the mind is influenced, the body's influenced. So if you're stressed about something, your body may, have a cause and effect that breaks down. And it's really important to actually check out what's out there and what's going on. So the challenge, which has been so crazy interesting, the challenge that has come up, in particular for me and many people that I know, is facing judgment and gossip and how people project their things on other people or dump them on other people. And I've had that in a variety of ways through experiences, and even from playing sports to the work that I'm doing with clients and seeing them go through the fears of being judged, the fears of ridicule, and how that's impacting them moving forward. It's like a possibility for us to look at, how we're built and what we have built globally as citizens and as people, and also internally, and how that's influencing us. We have a lot going on energetically, and whoa. And I love how it happens that so many people are synchronized in the same way, or at least challenged in the same way, so that when I do these podcasts or I get guests on the show, or when I'm sharing and with clients that I have, it's so fun for me to say, yeah, I know quite a few people going through the same thing, because that's the cosmic alignment. We're all really connected and related. And, what happens to us out there happens to us inside as well. So what we see out in the world is and can influence what we are going through on the inside of who we are. So interesting, really interesting times. So judgment, ridicule, gossip, how that imprints on us, and how that causes us to stop being who we're meant to be in the world, stops us from launching our light out there. Stops us from having soul experiences, because we're so fucking worried about what everybody's going to say. We're so worried about being judged, pushed out, and what's really interesting is this came up in I play pickleball sport, and I played sports my whole life, and I've played sports with men, played sports with women, and, in pickleball, there's a mix. And it's so interesting because some of the girls have I'm really nice to them. I spend time teaching them. I try to help them and stuff like that. But one girl recently has had a little crisis with me because she was really unsportsmanlike, and she is unsportsmanlike, I'll judge, I'll do it right now. It's a discerned judgment that I'm giving. And she's not always, she wants to win really, really badly. It means a lot to her, and that's cool. I get that. Sometimes people put their self-esteem or their feelings inside of a sport because they really want to perform, and I totally get that. But we had a moment, and I said, it's really I wasn't happy about certain things that she was doing, and they, I was like, I said, that's not cool, and it happens that in certain sports, especially this one, which is interesting at a recreational level, not at an upper echelon level. It's not that. But when you play with recreational people that are just learning and, they just want to have fun and stuff like that, they put a lot into their winning, and they want to win, and they'll do pretty much anything to win because it makes them feel good. They just want to do that. And so, sometimes they do unsportsmanlike behavior, and I'm like, I have a pet peeve about that. Like when people are, do things when they're playing sports to win at all cost, even if it's cheat, even if it's, being, laughing at the opponent or laughing when people make bad shots. I just think that's really wrong. I would never laugh at somebody who made a bad shot in a sport. I just don't do it unless they're a good friend of mine and we're playing around, we're having some fun. Okay. But they do that for some reason at the recreational level where I play. There's a lot of that. There's ridicule or laughter, like you miss a shot and they act this way. And I just find it rude. So this woman and I just was like, wow, that's really something. And it was to other people. And I was like, why would you laugh at other people who are missing shots, who are just coming here for fun? Like, it's like, why would you do that? She didn't like it. And what ended up happening is, she gossiped with all the other girls because, girls love gossip. And that's why I've always gotten a little bit better with men. Sorry, ladies, don't freak out on me, but it's just a fact. I have to really select the women in my life because women can be really emotionally petty at times, and men aren't like that. Men beat the shit out of each other, burp, fart, whatever, and then they move on and they're best buddies again. And they just move through things very differently than women. And so recently, that's what I've been going through. There's been this little group of girls who think I'm or whatever because I actually told this one woman that I didn't appreciate her. So she's running around in this little recreational group that's there, talking about me and gossiping because she's so insecure. She's like, 65 years old, and this is just kind of what she's doing. It's obvious, I could tell because of how people act, and I don't really mind because I don't care what anybody says. If I have something to say and somebody's being rude to somebody else, that's okay. You have two choices. You can disagree with me, which was what we agreed to do, and I walk away from those situations quiet because I don't think there's a point in gossiping and ruining somebody's reputation because you just don't agree with a point they said, or if you don't like their character, why do you have to run around and harm them through gossip and judgment with other people? It doesn't really help, It's really different. Gossip is very different than judgment that has discernment in it, okay? Because gossip is something that happens after something has occurred or through a judgment when we don't really know somebody. And it's not something that you're dealing with where you're being responsible and you're being aware and conscious of your behavior and what you're saying about somebody else. Gossip is like something that happened has made me upset, so I'm going to badmouth you and harm your reputation and slander you because I'm uncomfortable with what you said to me or who you are as a person. It influences me on the inside and I don't like it. And what's really crazy about this woman and all the other girls today I could tell they were having a little problem because I went to play this morning, is that I was nice to all of them, always teaching them, encouraging them. And today I played against a bunch of them and said nothing. And that's a terrible experience. Like I just played my game and walked through it because I knew listen, it's funny and crazy, but men told me that was going on. My men friends in the thing says, yeah, there's this little thing going on about you. I'm like, wow. So I find it, I'm looking at that. I'm like, wow, I've been through that quite a number of times. Listen, I'm a psychic medium, clairvoyant, lifelong. And, I've been challenged, have a career in this industry. I have a career as a spiritual mentor and master. And, I see shit. I feel things. I've channeled all kinds of masters. Of course, people are going to judge me. It's just part for the course. You know what I mean? I've had a lot of growing pains in my life. I've gone through addiction. I've gone through, rescuing myself from really harmful situations, sexual abuse. I mean, you name it, I've been through it. I've always been a misfit, always felt like I didn't fit in, and trying to find my tribe and my place where I belong. And I've learned to be a human being. Before I wasn't, it was very hard for me to be in situations like that because I don't like low level energy. Like many of you don't like that low level petty, shallow energy where people are just bitchy for no reason, or they have to feel good. So they do these little things to make themselves feel important, which really, hurt other people or harm other people. And they're very unnecessary. Gossip and that kind of like petty, energy is part of what human beings do quite often. I mean, you see it everywhere. The greatest people in the world have been hit by ridicule and judgment and gossip that has been harmful. And you just got to move through it. So it's just, this is a moment in time that's happened that reminded me of so many other times. And I know quite a number of people going through that. People putting themselves out there in the world, face first. People putting their energy out there, their desires out there. They're taking vulnerability risks. They're putting out new ways of being, new ways of thinking, and they get we get lashback for that, being yourself and not being like everybody else. It has, a negative influence on people who don't want to change, and they will do things to make sure that so they don't have to face whatever they have to face through what you're showing them. They create gossip and judgment that is harmful so they could feel good about whatever it is that they're doing. And it's interesting because today I played against that woman I'm talking about, and I'm not like, I don't care. I have lots of great friends there at the recreational place. I get along great with lots of the guys there. They're super nice people. It's totally unnecessary what they're doing, but that's what they do. And nothing personal, but that's what bitches do. They get together and they gossip and they slander, and then they do that to make themselves feel good because I'm not in their norm. You know what I mean? And now what they're losing is somebody who is nice to them, somebody who plays. I'm a better player than all of them. So I was teaching them, and it's not to toot my own horn, it's a fact. You know what I mean? So I would teach them, encourage them, show them what to do. And they created a scenario just out of one person gossiping to the other ones. There's like 4 or 5 of them out of a big group of people. Now that's going to stop. And what a waste of time. And maybe not. Maybe they'll realize that they're not doing the correct thing, and they'll turn around and they might be more polite and have a better energy towards me again. And that would be fine as well. I'm open to that. But it made me think of how many times in life we go through this. How often in your life, and I've reflected on mine because of this one simple situation, and said, how many times in my life have because I judged somebody, I might have lost an opportunity that was given to me that was actually really positive. How many times have you done that? How many times can you think in your life, yeah, I judged this and I judged that, and then they ended up my best friend. I ended up finding out I was completely wrong, and what was really going on was that I was bothered because I don't allow myself to be that way. I don't allow myself to be so positive, so influential, such a leader, totally authentic and raw. You know what I mean? And I know that's what's going on with this woman as an example. She's very uncomfortable because I said the truth and she didn't like it. And instead of going and just saying, okay, we agree to disagree and we shake hands and that's it, she's doing something else to make herself feel better, which is a really bitchy move and says everything about her character. So that has changed the dynamics between us, which wouldn't have changed because I was over it until I went a couple of days and heard these guys were like, what's going on? These girls are all bitchy about you now. And I'm like, well, only one situation happened. And, now she's influencing a bunch of other people. Why don't you tell her to stop doing that? And I hope they do, because it's a very negative thing when you're in a group of people. They play every morning. She's there all the time. Why would you do that? Why would you create that scenario for anybody? So to me, that's low vibrational energy. That's only going to be harmful to everybody in that they're going to be impacted from it. And why do that? And let's think about it, right? How many times have you done that? I know I've done that. I know that there's been times in my life where I was scared of what was being asked of me to look at it within myself, and I ended up running away from it. I mean, I don't do that often today, very rarely. I mean, I've been in the transformational world for 30 years, and I know that's the wrong thing to do. Even this scenario as well, I've gone back, I've had to look at it. I said, okay, what might have harmed this woman? Maybe I was too blunt. My energy was too fierce. And I realized, okay, so you have to, Lisa, when you're playing with regular people who don't necessarily understand your vibe and they're not as competitive as you in a sport, you have to be like a little bit, maybe change your fierceness with them so that, there's more comfort and there's more enjoyability when you play with them. So that's what I walked away from, and that's what I learned, and that's how I was today. You know what I mean? Today, I just, played and kept to myself with the women that I knew were doing that, and, wished them well in my heart and had a good time, and that was it. And tried to stay in a positive energy, but not I'm going to, something has shifted. It was unnecessary what you're doing. And I know if they definitely, like, as an example, I'm prepared to, if that woman talks to me or she continues, I'm just going to, I might pull her aside and say, listen, you might want to stop doing that because it doesn't really serve anybody for you to do that. And I don't have a problem with you. And we haven't ever had a problem until one moment that you can't seem to handle after knowing me for a really long time here. So why are you doing that? Why are you being this way? And, the thing too that, I know from years of experience in transformation, people have shit days. They really do. They have shit times and shit days. And that might be something that's going on with her. So I'm not going to stir the pot anymore. I don't know why she's going through this kind of such a negative phase with this situation. I have no idea what she's experiencing. I just know that I'm not going to tolerate people treating me like that. And I don't think any of us should. We just have to learn how to discern, what do we do in that situation? What can I learn from it? And how can I change my energy so that I bring a more positivity to it? But gossip is bullshit. I'm telling you, that is one of the worst things that we can do. Give a discerning opinion about somebody, but slandering gossip and saying negative things and ganging up on somebody is a really harmful experience for the people receiving it. You know what I mean? And it hurts people. Bullying hurts people. And it's deeply, deeply, deeply unnecessary. There's so many other ways to, heal our discomfort, take a moment to look at ourselves, reflect on what the learning is, reflect on what the teaching is in every experience. There's always, always, always that probability. And what happened today, which is really interesting, is so there was games going on, and there was a game where there was missing a player, and people that were on the bench who really don't care about what happened, they're like, Lisa, go play. And I saw her there, and I said, I'm going to go play because I know if I go play, it's going to help her understand that I'm over it. It doesn't bother me. You know what I mean? And that things are forgiven. Let's just move past things. It's a sport. Let's just move past. We're not friends. We don't talk outside of that. Get over it. And it was so interesting to watch her and how she was. I was pretty quiet, and I tried to just be play my game and stuff like that. And it was interesting to watch how she, was pretty every point she got, it was a little bit louder than normal. It was funny. I could see her really proud of every shot she made, which I thought was really funny, And what I do also when I play with people that aren't as strong as me in any sport is I try to play just more calmly and relaxed so that I don't overpower the game. I don't want to I just want people to get better. I mean, that's why I go there in the morning to just exercise certain shots or just learn a little bit more about, learn to contain my, my service game, or I try to go and have fun. And there's so many cute, fun people there. And they're older people, which I love because they're fun. I mean, they're retired. They're awesome human beings, which I really love too. But it taught me a lot about, myself. It taught me a lot about how much I've grown, because there was a time I would have had a full-on fight with that girl. Not a physical one, but a fuck you, bitch kind of one. And I didn't. I don't need to do that, at all, which was really cool. I mean, at my age and my transformational level, I shouldn't be doing that anyways, But it was interesting to experience that feeling walk through it, play with her today. And then at one point we were playing and I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I think I'm just going to kick her ass now. And I ended up, that we came back, me and this old guy who's got to be at least 70 years old. I started playing at my level a little bit stronger. And then she was playing with one of the strongest players in the morning. And she was so proud. It was 7-2. And we came back and beat them 11-7. And she didn't say anything. Neither did she say, great game, Lisa, And I thought, that's too bad. That's really too bad. And I'm not going to apologize, for being a good player or being a strong person. And I'm not going to apologize for turning it on, because I just, in my opinion, when somebody's like that, a little lesson goes a long way, even if I'm the one teaching it. So that was really, for me, it was a little bit petty, if I don't say so myself. But I was also smiling and thought, are you done now? Yeah, I'm done now. Sometimes the best revenge, let's say, is just being you and doing what you do. And that's that. You know what I mean? And that's all. The other thing I realized too, which is a positive flip, is those women really want to play harder against me. And they're going to get better because they're doing that, which I think is also really awesome. So sometimes a little bit of bad energy or resentment for somebody can go a long way as well. Not necessary, unnecessary. Nobody's going to push me out of a place that I want to be. This is something else that I realized too. And I don't think anyone should push us out of places that we want to be. I think if something is really a negative experience for us as human beings and the gossip is too thick and painful, for sure there's ways to deal with pull people aside and ask them to stop. Ask the people around them who are your friends to tell them to stop, because that's really important. And I played other sports and been in other situations and group settings where people are like that. Many, many times the person that everybody's gossiping about ends up really being an amazing person. And I don't care. I take the time to go and get to know everybody. Nobody tells me who to like and not like. I don't give a shit whose opinion I'm being given. I've had that happen many times in my life. And what really bothers me a little bit is it's more women that do that than men. I've had that happen many times. When I went to, and I can own it. Like, I'm a woman and I can own it. And I'm not like, it's important for women to understand that when we're petty like this and we gang up because we're uncomfortable and we're insecure about who we are, it really has a harmful effect on other people. And it really has a negative impact. And I've been through this. Like, I remember when I went to Alcoholics Anonymous when I first cleaned up my life at 23. And I remember these women came up to me and I was so fucked up, people, like, wow. And a gang of women were telling me not to talk to this guy and that guy and telling me what to do and, trying to control my life. And I was like, because I've always been like this, like I don't have any racism in me. I either like you or I don't like you, or I don't like how you're behaving, or it doesn't matter what color or if you're man or woman or whatever. I have a gut feeling about things or people, and then I follow that. And I remember this specifically, and thinking to myself, and even growing up in my family too, because my father was a bit of a bigot. And he say, how could you talk about people like that? It drove me nuts, the comments that he would make. Literally nuts. I just couldn't believe that there was a problem with somebody's color or where they came from. And we used to argue all the time about it. And I was a little girl. I'd say, what are you, like, that is not true to him. And I would argue with him about it. And when I got to even, like I said, even as in a sober place that's supposed to be helpful and beneficial to your life, a place that, is filled with really fucked up people because they're all trying to get sober, the women ganged up together. There was 5 or 6 of them. They took me out and they pulled me aside and they said, you shouldn't talk to any of these guys. These are the guys that are going to try to get in your pants. And da-da-da-da-da-da. Those guys ended up being some of my best friends because I didn't listen to those women. Those women ended up gossiping and slandering me. You know what I mean? And talking bad about me. And I was brand new in recovery. And those guys were my best buddies. And they took care of me. They watched over me. They made sure I didn't drink. They kept me under their wing. None of them tried to do anything stupid with me. And the women were completely wrong. So it was really important, and it is really important to me, that I give people a chance that feel them out myself before I ever listen to what anybody else's projected opinion is. And I recommend all of us do that. Give people a chance based on your experience with them, and do not listen to gossip. Formulate your own gut feeling about situations. Make sure you have a time to assess a circumstance or something like that so that you can discern for yourself if something is right. A person could be meant to be in your life in a very, very magical way, but you may not let them approach you because one of your friends doesn't like them. And this is not good. It's not good for you, not good for them, not good for the creative process. The universe may be bringing you gifts through people that are around you, through circumstances and situations that you won't know because you're listening to somebody's opinion without giving something or someone a chance. Very important not to do that. And gossip in any way, gossip about somebody's work, gossip about a company, gossip about a foundation, gossip about others, gossip about children. How many children get ridiculed because parents will, look at who we are as people. Mental illness at a time was judged to the maximum. People used to get locked in rooms. They used to get lobotomies because they were different. I mean, it's unbelievable to me that we don't understand how to manage our judgments and and the gossip that will harm, you know what I mean? That will harm others. Very, very, very cool opportunity. And I've also been going through, I don't know how everybody's doing, and I would love comments and feedback because, it would be great to know, just leave them in the feed. Like I would love to know how you're doing. And have conversations with you about what's going on with your what's coming to you through these energy times and all these, retrogrades and planets that are smacking into each other that have everything to do with the basic nature of who we are as people. And, how that's rising up inside of your life and reflecting to you and what you're doing about it. Tell me about it. I want to know. I love. It's really important. I try to be as raw and real as possible, and to just be as, helpful as I can with the lessons that I learned, because I think that's one of the greatest things in being a teacher is having the ability to share through experience is vulnerably and openly and honestly, and to stop apologizing for who we are. We're always going to get judged. I understand that. I wish it wasn't like that, but the truth is it is. There's too many petty people that are out in the world, that want to be better, want to sound better, want to this, want to that, and I'm not saying I don't, because, for sure I have discernment. That's why I'm talking about these women. I'm saying this is, to me, when I look at this situation, the one woman has created chaos with 5 other women towards me for no reason. There's no reason whatsoever, except they love to be together and, like, nah. And I've been through that many, many times with particular women, not men. And so, and I'm thinking about it. It's so funny because this has brought up so many stories, so many stories. And, there's a lot. Part of that is I know why. Part of it is that, when you're authentic and you just kind of are who you are, people tend to judge that. And it makes women very uncomfortable when a woman is in her power. And a woman is able to be fierce or unapologetic or out there or different than them. It happens quite often. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen with men, because I think it does. I'm a woman who's experiencing it with women right now. So that's why I'm talking about it from this direction. Even when I was younger, and I'll give you a really absolutely fucking awesome example. When I was young, there was a gang of girls, and when I was in full-blown alcoholism, there was a gang of girls that every time they saw me, I'd go to the bars in my area, and every time they saw me, these were broads. I mean, sorry, ladies, I'm sorry to say broad, because I know women hate that word, but these girls were like hardcore girls. These girls could beat the crap out of guys on a regular basis. They were really tough. We say, from my era, we say tough broads, they were like, whoa, man, you didn't mess with them. And there was like 4 or 5 of them. And every time I walked into a bar, they wanted to beat the shit out of me. I have no idea exactly why, except they were mad at me because all the guys, they love me. I got along great with guys, and the guys always protected me. And I'll tell you something. Every time I saw those women, they tried to pick fights with me. They tried to scare me. And I'll tell you who protected me from them. It was always the men. It wasn't other women going up to them and saying, hey, you know what? Just leave her alone. She doesn't even, but why? She's like a twig compared to you. Why do you want to kick the crap out of her? You know what I mean? She's just there. And I didn't really bother anybody because I would go to bars and all I wanted to do was drink and dance. I didn't really talk to anybody. I didn't want to cause trouble. I talked to my friends. I mean, I didn't talk to anybody like in negative ways or cause trouble or pick fights. I wasn't that person. I wasn't that kind of drunk. You know what I mean? I was like, a party animal. I just wanted to have a ripping, roaring time all the time. And they absolutely hated me. And there was no reason. And I'm going to tell you something that's really, really significant to this lesson that I'm talking about right here, of how our judgments or what people are doing, how negatively they can influence somebody. So the guys used to protect me. It was actually them that would tell these women, hey, leave her alone. Okay, she's our buddy, leave her alone. And these girls would, because of the guys who just loved me and knew I just wanted to have a good time. And, they were good friends of mine. They just really took me under their wing, and that was it. And I do have countless stories of these situations. And I know it's because I stand out. I am who I am. And that can sometimes cause a negative influence for other women. And here's the interesting learning of this whole story here. When I was 23 years old, one of these women, her name was Kathy, and she might be even listening to this, and I call her my angel today. And she was the hardest core one out of all these girls. And she really hated me, apparently. And I walked into this bar, one of the bars around my area, and it was a couple of days before I cleaned up my life at 23. And she, who scared me every time I saw her, who wanted to beat the crap out of me every time I saw her for 3, 4, 5, I don't even know how long, for years and years. I walked in the bar, and I had been in a full-on kind of blackout. And one day I'll tell you the whole story about this moment in time in my life that was one of the greatest things that ever happened to me, and the greatest gift I've ever received from the universe, from God, to have this obsession lifted and to be, to have a second chance at life. It was incredible. I walked in the door, and, there was like a hallway, and she saw me. And she came barreling down the hallway straight for me. And I must have turned completely white, because her doing that meant I was going to get the shit kicked out of me. That's pretty much what it meant. And I was like, uh-oh. And she came, nobody stopped her. She was headed right for me. And I came out of a full blackout and remembered this moment. Okay. I was in a full blackout, and she came up, and she didn't look angry. I remember her eyes, her blue eyes. She didn't look angry, and she came barreling up to me and put her hand out, grabbed my hand, and shook my hand and pulled me aside and told me this. She said, Lisa, I've been sober for 2 years, and I'm in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I can't believe this has changed my life. And I wanted to tell you about it. I wanted to tell you that I'm different and my life has totally changed. And if you ever need help, that this is the thing, this is the place for you to go. Okay, you can imagine me, totally tanked, out of a blackout, with her barreling towards me and her shaking my hand, hugging me, embracing me, and telling me all about AA, writing down her phone number and saying, if you want to come to a meeting, here is my phone number. What the fuck just happened, right? And then she went away. We talked, I don't know for how long, because it was a long time ago now, and I don't remember all the details. I remember that detail. I went back into a blackout, and I came out of it, and all these other miracle moments, absolutely breathtaking miracle moments happened, and some really hard ones. And I got sober 2 days later, and I've been sober since then. And that was at 23, and I'm 55 now. And let me tell you, so when we say, somebody who you may think is the worst person in your life can be a miracle in your life, I have firsthand experience from it. And Kathy's one of those people. This woman, I call her my little miracle, and we didn't see each other for a really long time, and I was really dying to thank her, because she helped me get sober, and I had lost her number, and my heart was broken, because I just really wanted to thank her, because she was the catalyst. Her courage, the years of fear I had, you know what I mean? I didn't realize that it would take her, that woman who I used to say, if I ever act like her or get drunk like her, please tell me, because I know I'll be an alcoholic if I behave like that. I had said that for years to my friends. saved my life, was the miracle of my life. And so 10 years later, I was in Club Med. I was working in Dominican Republic village. And I had been thinking about Kathy over the years for sure. And she walked into the village where I was. And I looked at her and she looked at me and she was still sober. And my heart fucking like just exploded with joy to thank her for what she gave me. Like really, thank her for what she gave me. Very, very beautiful experience to share around this subject. You know? So our judgments and our gossip can prevent us from having these miracles because we'll hide from these moments because those judgments will come first. When you're judging somebody and you're gossiping about somebody because you don't like them, it doesn't mean that they're not great for somebody else. It doesn't mean that that person isn't the perfect friend for somebody else. You know what I mean? So we have to be aware and conscious of what we're saying and doing out in the world and to be mindful of it, you know, really mindful of it. So I'm aware of these experiences and I trust my gut and I've asked for guidance around all my experiences like that, including this petty one. Like, you know, it's just like, let it slide and be yourself and stand in your power and bring positivity to the environment. You know, and let them figure out if that's the women they want to be and let them have their life in whatever way that they want to be, you know, and that's okay. It's okay. But it's not going to stop me from, you know, being open and being able to forgive and be able to be, you know, an example that makes those gossips and judgments very incorrect. And letting people just be responsible for their own stuff, you know. Sometimes that's the best thing we can do. Lay low. I've had some, you know, extremely volatile times, and I know a lot of you have too. I know that 100%. We talk about it. I know my listeners, you go through stuff, you know, and you really do. You go through painful experiences, and we've all been rejected. We've all been told we're shit, you know, in some form or another. We all have insecurities as human beings. And I want you to know, like, you just keep being you because things will turn around and people eventually do know the truth. You know what I mean? And oftentimes people believe somebody who's not an authentic human being, and the others can find out later and realize, wow, like you know, because I believed all this stuff, what kind of opportunities in my life did I lose? You know, what kind of success did I miss? What kind of love in my life did I walk by because I was in this low frequency energy and I didn't realize that I can, you know, share and embrace another level and another layer of energy and be that beacon of light and teach people to be themselves in love and kindness, even or in challenging moments or in hard conversations. You know what I mean? And that's it. It's okay. Really, really okay. So today, when I walk through that little journey, I know that's going to have an impact because, you know, I'm going to be the example. I'm going to be that, listen, I can forgive you and be with you and play a sport with you and you can go do whatever it is that you want. You know, yeah, it's changed a bit because you decided to be bitchy about it and that's okay. But you know, that's all right too. I can forgive you for being who you are and not get into the drama, which is a whole other thing, okay? If you get into the drama with somebody who's creating gossip, who's trying to justify themselves and who's trying to harm others, if you get into it with them, even if it's in an argument, what you end up doing is you end up in that energy. You completely end up in the twist of fate that they're creating, which is really important not to get into. It's really important for us that when we're dealing with rejection, gossip, and slander, that you have the balls to say, the courage to say, that's what I mean by balls, meaning courage, to say, why are you doing that? So when people negatively gossip to me, one of my rules, and I learned it from Maya Angelou because I absolutely love her. She had no tolerance for gossip, and I saw her on Oprah a couple of times talking about that. about 20 years ago. And I remember feeling like I felt like that too my whole life, that when people gossip, it really is harmful. And I don't mean gossip that it's really different when you have to talk to your friend because you're upset about a situation and you know that your friend's going to keep it to yourself. Yes, you're talking about somebody else, but your friend is helping you just walk through the emotions. Your friend is not going to go spread the word about what a bitch somebody is. And I've gone through that recently. I've gone through, having a couple of, not recently, but I've gone through that over the course of my time. And I know many of you have gone through it recently, where there's challenges with people and you're trying to stand up for something different in who you are. And they're pushing you down, whether it's family members or whether it's, friends or the tribe of people that you're in. No, don't change. It's the same thing like when I got sober, everybody was in shock. All the people that I hung out with were like, holy shit. But let me tell you something, because I stood for that, because Kathy stood for that for me, and because I stood for that after, I know a ton of people from my area that got sober after that. And some of them told me, because you got sober, I drank way more than you. You gave me hope because you were willing to say that. You were willing to own it and claim it and be an example of truth. I also got judged. Of course, I got judged, Not that it's okay, because it's not. No reason to judge somebody who's changing and transforming their life. But I know that oftentimes when people are in judgment, it's because they're uncomfortable, because something inside them is uncomfortable with what you're doing, because it's reflecting something to them that they don't want to face. And we have to be okay with that too, and be in the presence of that energy, pulling out the best vibration for those people so that they can relax. When you're not in judgment back towards somebody who's in judgment towards you, you leave them with their energy, and then they have to figure out if they want to continue being an asshole or being mean or being bitchy or being rude or just not being, a good human being. They have to figure that out. Once you get in the dance with them, they have more reason to judge you. And they have more reason to scream even louder to their friends, which just create more of that negative energy. So sometimes the high road is silence and just being an example and letting people know where your power is, and understanding that sometimes people are insecure and they're jealous or they're upset, and that you can give compassion to. And from having that compassion, we can rise above the gossip. We can rise above this way of being. We can step into a place where we're the example of better behavior, in the sense of, being a righteous human being, being authentic, and allowing others to be who they need to be. And I don't tolerate gossip. I just don't. If people are being bitchy about it, I'm like, are you really into this kind of gossip? And I do things like, if somebody's like really slandering somebody, what I do is I just say, listen, would you say that to their face? Because if you wouldn't say that to their face, then stop saying it to me. Period. I'm not into it. Or I tell people things like, are you going to do something about it? Or are you just being like, what are you doing? My best friends, of course, I know they're walking through an emotional journey. They know who I am. They know that I'm not going to be like, yeah, let's get into this horrible gossip. Sometimes we release our emotions through that experience of getting something out with judgment towards somebody. But if your intention is, I'm just healing and going to release this, even though it's a tough moment in my life, and yes, I'm gossiping in the sense of talking about somebody else, you know what I mean? It has a purpose. I'm talking to a safe friend. They're not going to gossip about it after. I have trust here, and I'm going to move through the emotions and then let it go. And, just send love to that person that I'm having the trouble with. And that's it. That's a great way of being. To me, that has been the saving grace for me in the situations. And it's also been great for me because I don't hang around with people who just are petty and who, about people all the time. And when it has happened that new people come in my life and they're like that and they don't have that same value as me, I tell them the truth. I just say, listen, I'm just not into that. If it doesn't serve any purpose, it doesn't really serve any purpose. You know what I mean? And I'm not into gossip. I'm just really not. I don't think it serves any purpose. So unless, you have a reason for talking about this person so negatively, I don't want to hear it. And it shocks people because people love gossiping because it makes them feel good about who they are. And when you feel good about who you are, you don't need to gossip. When you feel good inside yourself, you don't need to have that judgment. When you have your own self-worth intact, you don't need to be a bitch. You don't need to be mean. You don't need to bully somebody else around. You don't need to gossip behind somebody's back. And it's a problem, literally, that's birthed out of insecurity inside of a person because they don't know who they are. So stand for something better. Find new values. If you're listening to this and you're like, wow, Lisa, like, that's awesome. And you know what? I think I'm going to grab some of these nuggets of gold that you've shared with us. I'm going to keep them too, because I think it's important. I don't have a problem telling a group of people to shut the hell up when they're gossiping about somebody. I don't have a problem doing that anymore. When I heard Maya Angelou say to Oprah, she was talking on a show, and she said, if I have a party and people are in my house, I don't care who they are. I don't care if they're celebrities, politicians. I don't matter. If they're gossiping, I ask them to leave. My house is a non-gossip house. If you are slandering and gossiping anybody, I actually ask you to leave. I was like, Maya, you're a badass. I love her. Loved her. And I miss her dearly. And I'm like, she gave me such a piece of gold that day when she gave me permission to do the same thing through sharing that's what she did. Because I did it at a lower scale, but now I would do it in a bigger scale. And I would have no problem saying, no, you don't have to be like that. You really don't. And it's not fair. We all need to stand up for everybody. And by doing that, bullying, first of all, would stop. Because if everybody stands up for everybody and everyone has their own worth in their hands and their own security in their own hands, and you know who you are, you don't have to behave like that, then, others will look at you and go, well, they don't act like that. And why am I with these group of people that are just rotten? And all they do is bully people around and bitch and gossip and this low level energy. You know what I mean? This lower level of energy. Negative. So I hope that some of you have gotten some value out of today's show. I'm always really excited. I can't wait to share with you next week's guest. Oh, it's going to be a doozy. It's going to be a surprise. I'm not going to tell you. And I hope to see you next time on the show. And remember that if you love the show, please share it. I'm honored if you would. And please leave your comments and let me know what you want me to talk about. And if you are or have a desire to be a guest on this show and talk about how you've risen in your life and the amazing things that you're doing, there's an application process as well. And I would love to consider you to be on the show and to have a good time. And to just share soul to soul, have some laughs, and enlighten this planet, because it really needs some help and support from these vulnerable conversations, these raw and real moments. Have an amazing rest of your day. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye for now.